Here are two breaking news right this moment about United States moves on tariffs and global trade. US envoy Steve Witkoff has arrived in Moscow, the capital of Russia, to engage Russian officials ahead of a looming Friday deadline. President Trump may impose new sanctions and secondary tariffs on countries purchasing Russian oil such as India if negotiation don't yield result. Negotiation is going on. On the other side, tariff tensions escalate. Trump emphasized possible secondary tariffs on EU, his partner countries, China and India as uncertainty grows around US-China trade talks and on August 12 deadline. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SATV's International Affairs Special Edition. My name is Rashid Kanchan. I will be your host, and I have a very distinguished panelist today who has a military background, who has experience on conflict and disaster management as well as international trade, tariffs and international relations. Major Dr. Nasir is here in the studio, and from Washington we have our commentator and our correspondent, Ambassador Norman Flatt Barnes. I want to start with Norman. Norman, what are the latest you have in your hand? Because news is trending in United States and around the globe. Would you please start your take first?
Yes, first thing, good morning from Washington, D.C. And I bid everybody a good evening. And I'm again pleased to be with the distinguished panel. Well, we will start off this day with the issue with the tariffs. Is still pending. The Epstein case, the House has subpoenaed the Justice Department to release the sex trafficking investigation. The interest is real high on how the current administration is tied in with the Epstein investigation, so there's a lot of focus on that.
So, do you like to give us some idea what is the Epstein investigations is going on and how the American medias are reacting on this particular issue?
Yes, the American media, actually the Congress, is now being pressured by the people to find out. There's a belief in the Congress that the current administration is not being honest, and they have more involvement, particularly the President Trump has more involvement with the Epstein investigation than being put out there in the news. So they want to find out the details, see who's lying, who's telling the truth, and what exactly is President Donald Trump involvement with Epstein.
Right.
That is the biggest issue. There's a lot of effort put into this.
Right, Mr. Norman. Let us come to Major Dr. Nasir. As you heard that President Trump has sent a special envoy to Moscow with a 10-day ceasefire ultimatum. My question is, what are the chances of success and how might this reshape US-Russia relationship?
Okay, thank you, Kanchan, and very warm greetings to my dear viewers. Kanchan, I like to go back exactly 1 year back. You remember that there was an election, that a US president election on 3rd November 2024. Right before the election, that is in the month of August, September, October, there was a campaign from the Trump campaign team that if President Donald Trump is elected, Ukraine-Russia war can be stopped within 24 hours. I repeat, 24 hours, not even a day. So, starting from that, there was a hope, there was a expectation, or there was, you can say, some interest in how Donald Trump is going to stop that war. As he committed, it is possible within 24 hours. We all knew that a war cannot be stopped suddenly on 24 hours. Even you know that today is the day, 6th August, when the Hiroshima was destroyed 80 years back on 6th August 1945,
Yes.
killing 78,000 people. So something like that has to happen to finish a war or to stop a war within say 24 hours. So as a student of military science, always I say I am a student of military history and military science. So that was also interesting topic for the whole world, that how Donald Trump is going to stop this war within 24 hours as he committed, if not 24 hours, by 24 days or 24 months even. And interestingly, back just in the month of July, I think it is on 15th July, he declared a date of 50 days deadline. And that was also another turning point, how he could calculate 50 days. And as I was talking to this particular channel on that time, and I was telling that why he decided 50 days, there could be some calculation. 50 days is related with something else, may not be directly with the Ukraine-Russia war. Something else is cooking somewhere else. Exactly this statement I made. And I was, from that time I was calculating that, okay, 1 day gone, 2 day gone. And on 28th July probably he said, shorten the time, within 2 to 3 weeks maximum, he is going to finish this war. And by today, 2 weeks time already probably, or more than a week gone. And now he has, today as you have said, he has sent his special envoy and he is going to do something to end this war. But how this war is going to be end, there is lot of if, but, and etc. As I can just, I could recollect nowadays, there was a big question that what could be the demand of both sides to end this war. And as I thought of, first of all, that from Ukraine side, definitely they will look for 100% withdrawal of the Russian troops from the occupied territory. And 2 major cities of Ukraine is already now under control of the Russian troops. So definitely, being a small country or a big country doesn't matter. For a survival, for the prestige of a president, for the prestige of the nation and its sovereignty, first thing a nation can expect, or a politician can expect, or a political force can expect, is you withdraw your troops first from my territory, then we can sit for anyone.
A good question.
Okay. So is Russia going to do that? Absurd. Absurd. Nowadays, we cannot expect that. Rather, Putin has said that I can sit for negotiation provided international community accepts the occupied territory as the part of Russia. That is the demand from the Russian president. So what a contrasting interest. So how a peace is possible within 10 days or 24 hours, something like that is not.
It is not so easy.
Question.
It is next to impossible to make it
and there are other issues probably we can discuss later.
Accomplish in 12 days. Welcome our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Panthu in the studio. My question would be, we are thinking about to discuss about the Russia-Ukraine war, moves of United States, tariffs issues and some other issues. Do you have any breaking news, or do you want to put something more in the discussions today?
Thank you, Mr. Kanchan. A very good afternoon as well, and I'm glad to have Mr. Nasiruddin Ahmed back in our studios. Very good afternoon to everyone else. As you were mentioning, the Ukraine-Russia war and how Steve Witkoff is said to be seeing a Russian counterpart later this week. But let me just point out that the Russians were seen protesting the Israeli settler attack on a diplomatic vehicle in the West Bank. So Russia is now having a voice over the issues inside Israel and Gaza as well, not only Ukraine and Russia. And aside from this, we hear in the media that the United States is to increase India tariffs substantially in the next 24 hours. And apart from this, Donald Trump will be hosting Armenia and Azerbaijan leaders for peace talks. As we know, Donald Trump in the last 7 months, this is where his demand is being created. He is becoming, in some cases, a brokerage for ending wars, but also in other cases such as Ukraine and Russia, he is failing to do so.
So there are more issues that we will have to look at. Let us connect again with Washington. Mr. Norman is there. With the US threatening secondary sanctions and 100% tariffs on nations trading with Russia and Iran. It was actually Russia first. Now President Trump added Iran again. What risk does this pose to the global trade system and US alliances? Because some other US alliances are also doing business with Russia and Iran. They are buying oils and crude oils from these two countries. Mr. Norman, what would be the consequences of these tariff sanctions?
Well, the consequences first, I'm looking at the U.S., is that we're moving closer. Actually, we're moving at a very fast pace to a form of isolation. Countries like India and other countries are now looking at other alternatives until dealing with the tariffs and the threats of sanctions. India, for example, is steady working with Russia, China. They have relationships with them. We also have a relationship with the United States. So they're not going to change these type of things with because of the threats. So the impact on that on the world, we're looking at a transition. Threats are not going to work in the future. People will find alternatives to doing business, particularly in trade and commerce. So we are on the verge of seeing basically a shift in terms of dependency and the impact the United States has on the rest of the world.
Mr. Norman, what are the reactions you observe in the Congress debate or Senate debates or individual states heads debates regarding Trump's anonymous decisions on these particular big issues?
Again, as a result of these decisions by the Trump administration, the people, the citizens, overall the country is now looking at his approval rating. Is at an all-time low. Is dropping again. People are now questioning this autocratic style. This is causing a lot of uproar. The congressmen's back home talking to their different areas of their jurisdiction and their people, and they're getting a lot of backlash. They are not happy with the way things are going. It looks like it's a one-person administration, a one-person government, and they do not matter. They voted him in office, and now it looks like now it's me instead of we.
Mr. Norman, very well explained, one-man show. I want to come to Major Dr. Nasir. Given Russia's recent drone incursions into NATO airspace over Lithuania, another sovereign country but member of Lithuania, do you see this as a turning point that could trigger direct NATO engagement or direct NATO's involvement into Russia-Ukraine war?
Yes, definitely. So this war is continuing for a quite long time, and as it was expected that NATO will be directly helping Ukraine so that they can sustain this war, and at the same time, from the other side, it was expected Russia, being a very big country, could do and undo anything, provided they could take a decision that we will do it, as it was decided by USA as 80 years back. Regarding the Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So it's a matter of decision that whether we are going to a full-scale war like that, what may be the consequence of like that. So in both sides there was a restraint for different reasons, because the world scenario has been changed. The world is no more independently, no more country can run. Now a country has to depend on others for various reasons, could be food, could be for energy, could be for IT, could be for international trade and commerce, international exchange of the...
Even using airspace.
Airspace. So none of the countries can sustain independently nowadays. As a result, we saw that Ukraine also has been backed up by the NATO, but not to such a scale that which could effectively protest against the Russian force. At the same time, Russia also kept themselves limited within occupation of few of the major cities and key points instead of capturing the whole Ukraine in one go. So there was a balance between both the forces. But as you mentioned, that this is the turning point definitely when the drones have been seen over the sky of Lithuania, and definitely Lithuania being a country of the NATO bloc is not going to tolerate that, and as per the mandate of the NATO, if any country of the NATO countries are being affected by, especially by militarily, by any other force, any other country, the whole NATO is supposed to protest that, react on that, and if required, wage war against that particular country which has directly got involved with the member country of the NATO. So if NATO takes a resolution like that, we consider it to be a aggression from the Russian side onto a NATO member country, that is the Lithuania. Definitely they are bound to do something against Russia, which could be devastating.
There are really difficult consequences.
You
assume that.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a counter question and related question for Shamsul Alam Pantho. How effective is the Nordic countries' $500 million NATO-backed military support to Ukraine, and could it provoke further escalation from Moscow? As you heard from the news that Lithuania has detected some Russian drones on its sky, and as you heard Dr. Nasir, that there is a chances of more escalations and more reactions from NATO side.
Thanks for your question. Of course, I picked out a theme that Mr. Nasir was discussing on dependency on one another, and how each country in current age will have to meet the supply and demand if they have to go forward for a proper economy. However, I want to give some of the historical background. We've seen World War I taking place after Mr. Franz Ferdinand was assassinated. Similar cases in World War II, the rise of the Reich and Hitler, and how World War II had been conducted. And now in the current day and age, we see Ukraine slowly, progressively coming to the spot of becoming the cornerstone for a World War III-like situation. Of course, we hear that Lithuania had detected some Russian drone invading into its airspace, and right now we had always feared that the countries surrounding Ukraine will one day get into that retaliatory stage with Russia. Of course, right now the war has been going on 3.5 years. Even with US mediation attempts, it's not being halted. And as you see, even allied countries of the US are now, if not directly, they are supportive of the Russian war machine through trade and economic duties as well, especially with India as well. I mentioned how America is now planning for an increase of the tariff that India will have to pay. Clearly, it's a mess that they have caused with dialogue with two superpowers. They're stuck in between, and that is their strategic positioning needs to be restructured once again. But as for your initial question, we understand that the war is now taking a drastic turn. Other countries are now being dragged in. We understand it could be Lithuania today. Tomorrow it could be Italy, rest of Europe, who are also definitely
especially
concerned.
Nordic areas.
Nordic areas as well, because they also have a border sharing with Russia, and any moment this might become the stage for another World War III situation.
Very, very good explanation. Mr. Norman, you know, Lithuania is a member of NATO, and other Nordic countries also feeling threatened from Russia. In that situation, do you think Donald Trump would be more progressive to come forward to take a measure like Iran he has taken in favor of Israel? Mr. Norman, would you please explain your position and the position of your president?
Well, first thing, I cannot and I will not explain the position of the president. He goes from one side to the other side. So it's says one thing and does another thing. So that's very hard to predict that. But in terms of how I see the situation with NATO and the member countries dealing with Russia, this is a very tense situation. Russia has a mentality of all or nothing. They are intended on taking over Ukraine. They wanted to seize the whole region. And I say the region, not just Ukraine, they're moving to basically have control over the other region. So they are testing NATO to see exactly their response and how they're going to do things. At the same time, they have the door open for negotiations. Now, remember, in history, we noticed when, most of the wars and things happen while we are talking at the table, they are actually attacking. So there's a feeling that we are looking at some type of additional escalations. I see an escalation with NATO. We're starting with the drones. We know the drones are supplied by Iran and other places, North Korea, different things. So there's a probe to test the waters to see exactly which one cracks first. So I'm looking at a long-term escalation. This thing is not going away. It's not going to be done until, like I mentioned before, until they're ready for it to end.
Norman, thank you very much. I think I was listening very carefully your explanation and the situation, the way you described, and one question raised in my mind for an expert, and he is none other than Dr. Nasir is here. Dr. Nasir, we have seen President Trump was very drastic about Iran, but he has information. He said himself that Iran is a nuclear nation, or Iran is trying to develop its nuclear. Why he is so slow about Putin, his counterpart in Russia?
Okay, in military history or in the strategic game, there is a saying that preparation for the war is one of the tools of stopping the war, preventing the war. When both sides are equally equipped, you think twice to hit your counterpart. So, in case of Iran, he said that Iran is a country with some nuclear facilities or nuclear armaments, but internationally it is not proved. And Iran also repeatedly said that they are using that atomic energy for the peaceful purpose, that is for production of the electricity power and this and that. But nowhere Iran claimed that they have warheads with the so-called the nuclear warheads through which they can destroy the countries, or at times if it is said, it was not proven anywhere. But in case of Russia, it is a proven statement, it is a proven data that they have the nuclear warheads, and they have the intercontinental ballistic missiles also, which can be switched from Russia and can hit any of the country in the entire world. So definitely this sort of preparation, once the Russia and the America both has the similar type of preparation, the war will be definitely slowed down. Everybody will think twice that if I do this, what my counterpart is going to do. Am I capable to counter my counterpart if they takes this action? The way we plan in the chess board, that if it moves the horse, what I am going to do, if it moves the 11th, what I am going to do, this and that. So definitely Donald Trump, we can call him anything, any funny word we can use, as Mr. Ambassador was telling, that it is very difficult to predict what he says and what he does, and in the same way, but I think he also understands that knocking the door of Russia could cost much for US also, which could again make his internal politics, his domestic politics difficult for him. So maybe that is the reason. That's why because his commitment was that America first, interest of America first. So if he makes huge expenditure for Ukraine-Russia war, his own statement would be questioned, that why you are expending so much to stopping the war in Ukraine. So that's why probably he is also thinking twice that if it could be done diplomatically, why not to give another try. But in case of Iran, he was confident that if I do it, probably they are
Nobody
going to,
will come and hit us again.
Yes, and Iran will definitely accept it in a low tone. But in case of Russia, he is not enjoying that particular confidence.
Let me take the take from Shamsul Alam Pantho. You know, recent Russian strikes on Ukraine, especially across Kharkiv and other areas on 5 August, I mean yesterday, killed at least 5 and injured 13, highlighting record-breaking levels of drone and missiles launches in July 2025. So he is intensifying his attacks. He is trying to hit back to Ukraine. If NATO has committed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, what we see from NATO right this moment?
NATO had promised all its member countries to increase its defense spending 5% of the GDP. Not all of the member states have agreed on to that matter. However, we see a huge escalation of military escalation between Ukraine and Russia as of recent, if you compare the last month with 1 year ago. But we, even as we do this reporting, almost 20 to 35% of Ukrainian eastern side territory has been claimed by the Russian forces. And of course, there is a population in the eastern flank who are loyalists to the Russian regime. And at this moment, it's far too drastic to comment on the fact of how many lives are being lost. Of course, war and war fronts are always human-made errors or human-made conflicts which end up in higher disasters. I will want to add another story of a calamity to this issue, but before I do so, I will definitely comment that the Russian war machine is not ending its escalation. In comparison, it is only stepping up its escalation as it realizes that the US is supportive of Ukraine through NATO as well. But what I wanted to pick out today as well was that more than 100 are missing after flash floods in India, in Uttarakhand. So that's a calamity that nature has claimed. It happened in the Himalayan slope villages. And I feel that it was important to bring it up today.
Yeah,
and how man-made errors and natural errors can both claim lives.
Yeah, we will definitely bring it because we have it in our agenda, because climate change is affecting Bangladesh as well, and Bangladesh is one of the worst country in the world that has faced the climate change issues. Mr. Norman, I want to get you back for one reason. You know, following US-Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, according to White House and the spokesman of the president, that successful operation has been done silently and at night. My question is, are we witnessing a new phase of confrontation in the Middle East, or a missed opportunity for diplomacy? Because after that attack, no diplomatic move we have seen from Iran, no diplomatic move we have seen from Washington. So my question is, are we witnessing a missed opportunity of diplomacy, or the things is over after that attack?
Yes, what we are seeing is neither. We're not seeing a decrease, and we're not seeing an increase. We're seeing basically a wait and see situation. The attack itself was based on information that there was a threat. They made the attacks. There was some success, but they did not destroy the program. The program is continuing. They have support from other countries, China, Russia, North Korea, and a lot of other people are supporting this situation. Right now, there is a strategy period of determining exactly what's the next move. What is the next thing we need to do? Apparently, attacking and destroying facility is not going to destroy the program. So we have to look at another option. We have to leave the door open for negotiations, communications, and some type of peaceful settlement to this. But apparently there will be a program. We know that something will happen, but we're not going to be able to destroy it. So that strategy is I think is gone.
Right, Norman. Please stay with us. We will go for a very short break. Trump's tariff typhoon or tariff tsunami has reached to Bangladesh, has reached India, has affected 68 countries, ladies and gentlemen. I want to engage Dr. Nasir here. How do you assess India's firm rejection of US pressure over Russian oil imports? India clearly says for their national interest and economic benefit, they will continue buying Russian oil. But could this impact India-US strategic ties or push India closer to China or Russia? I personally don't see any chances with China. I see with Russia. How do you assess this?
Okay. Historically, India has a very strong bondage with Russia. It is going for years together or even decades together. And India is, as a, you can say, it's a energy hungry country. It needs huge of their crude oil and to sustain, because its economy is quite giant, and the industry and the total overall requirement of energy in India is huge. It's a huge country. So definitely it will, for national interest or to sustain the economy of India, India has to look for the cheapest crude oil or the energy, whatever you say. And for that, India has two choices. One is Russia, which they are already in practice. Another could be Iran, which is another country which is supplying the crude oil to many of the countries, including the countries in Southeast Asia. So India cannot, on the request or on the threat of USA, could reject Russia for in case of energy import. So it has to import. Maybe they will bargain, they will make some arrangement with USA the way other countries are doing, that okay, you give me this, in exchange I do this. Like Bangladesh has already ordered for 24 of the Boeing aircrafts, and India also probably ordered for few of the Boeings from America. So this is how a negotiation take place, and in case of India, India will be firm in importing energy from the Russia that they cannot avoid whatsoever, and cannot comply with the requirement of USA the way they want it. And for that reason, there could be a misunderstanding or gap of understanding between USA and the India. Already it is there. Modi is under huge criticism in the parliament. People are telling him liar, that he lied in front of the nation in case of India, stopping India and Pakistan war. So already there are some issues where the Modi is being challenged, that either you say you have told lie or the US president has told lie. So this is the situation in his parliament. So he cannot abruptly cut off ties with the Russia, and that's why they may have some misunderstanding or gap in their relationship with the USA for time being. But I strongly believe, as both the countries are interdependent, lot of Indians are working in America, lot of lobbyists are working in America. If you name few of the giant companies, leading companies, or big four, big seven,
CEOs are
whatever,
from India.
their CEOs are from India. So definitely a strong lobby is there from Indian side in US administration, and even within the political party of the President Donald Trump. But fact remains, Donald Trump is, as we said, Mr. Ambassador also said, he always said I, and I. Never he said we, or as a party, or as a nation, or as a country. He is not familiar with such words. He always that what I said, that will be done. What I said, that should be the Bible. What I said, that should be followed. This is his language normally. But one thing I just gaze that if there is really a tension between India and the USA, as you said that there is no chance for relationship developing with China, because already they are in conflict. India and China is already in the conflict.
Because they have border issues.
Border issues and many other issues, border, business, and other many of the, even a question of the Chinese claim over Tibet and also the Taiwan and other issues, the use of Indian Ocean. So all these things, there is a complex situation. But in politics and in the war, there is nothing called last word. So if there is a conflict between the India and the USA, maybe for greater interest, India may shake hand with China for time being on some condition. So we cannot abruptly say only the ties between India and Russia will be strengthened, China will be away. No, China will also try to utilize this particular opportunity, because China also want to give a good lesson to USA whenever there is a chance.
So it's a complex strategy.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me come to our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho. You heard Dr. Nasir. He has said there is no last word for politics and sports, probably you said, and war. This is what I like, and he said there are chances if there will be no negotiation settled with India and USA, there are possibilities that India will carve itself to China to protect India from United States. What is your take on that?
Well, finally, we would understand that their diplomatic circles included the friendship between Narendra Modi and Donald Trump. It's a historical friendship that has lasted up until recently, as Donald Trump takes pride in stopping and calling for a ceasefire to various war fronts in the world. And in his latest, he's trying to do that with Russia and Ukraine. But he understands that such a staunch ally of Russia, if you would call it, India is now purchasing crude oil, if you would say, or fossil fuel energy from Russia, vice versa, which has allowed them to work strategically on each other's benefit, which has angered the US. And definitely the US did say that the tariff package for India shall increase. Given so, right now we can see that a friend has turned into a foe. Friend being USA was a friend of India, and now he's taking retaliatory stance against India and its foreign policy. But as per our regional demand, we understand that China and India share one thing in common, becoming manufacturing hubs for major world companies. 10 years ago or so, as an example, I'll point out that when Western companies feared that their manufacturing costs were so high, they chose China to be a place where their manufacturing hubs can take place. What this had done was remove the cost that they had in creating such a product. And as the Chinese economy had emerged, those companies now realized that it has become tougher to increase production in China, so they look for another country where the manufacturing cost could be cheap, and that is where the role of a nation like India comes into play. And from what I know, India had initially started making automobiles, not only so, consumer electronics, something that China sees expertise on. India has tapped into that market as well. So it's very easy to say that India can choose to align itself with other regional emerging forces, but as of recent and according to the world media reports, right now the US sees India as a foe rather than a friend.
Yeah, I want to I must want to see the interest of Bangladesh. How Bangladesh can help the situation. I mean, how Bangladesh can take the advantages of this situation, because there are Quad issues, there are Indo-Pacific issues, there are BIMSTEC issues, there are SAARC issues. I am sure if Bangladesh can play well, Bangladesh can take huge advantages from these situations. What is your take, sir?
Right, Kanchan, you see Bangladesh right at this moment in such a position that it has some relationship gap between Indian side and the Bangladeshi side, because our during the last regime, whoever was in the power, who has been wasted, they had to flee from the country. Right, 1 year back, yesterday there was a celebration of 1 year of this
collapse of that regime.
And where they are located now, all of them are in India. There were several requests from our government side that you make sure that they come back and face the trial, but there is no response from the Indian side. There are several requests that please tell the ex-Prime Minister not to speak like that, which creates discomfort for the government and also excite the people, and they go for all out destruction. But there was no response from the Indian people. Indian government said, they said that it is a international social media age. We cannot stop her just like that. And again, we are reading in the newspaper, listening to the social media and other mainstream media that they are even holding their regular conferences in Delhi. There are some military people, the police people, they are organizing something. And very recently in Bangladesh, there was a training of the opposition people by a serving military officer, and it is very well circulated that it has been designed from India, and from India it is being monitored. So all these things, that there is a relation gap between India and Bangladesh right at this moment. And in this situation, if there is a pressure on India from the US's side, definitely Bangladesh will try to encash it. How Bangladesh can encash it? You know, both China and USA, all the time they are in favor of strengthening Bangladesh military forces, Bangladesh armaments, so that at the time of when it is necessary, Bangladesh can put some pressure from their border towards India. So USA has a master plan for Burma, that is the Myanmar now. They have the Burma Act. They have long-term mission, and very recently, very interestingly, we have noticed that Donald Trump is imposing sanction, tariff tsunami, as you have rightly said, on different countries. But in case of Myanmar, they are withdrawing the sanctions on major companies and the major stakeholders of the Myanmar. So there is definitely a movement going on to take Myanmar in their good book. And the Daily Star has very interestingly published one article that they call is the rare earth, which is available in Myanmar, which is required for nuclear warheads and building or manufacturing the high-level aircrafts, very sensitive aircrafts, and the Boeing and other things. So that rare earth is available in Myanmar. Very recently, they have given a story like that in the Daily Star, and America is focusing on that. That instead of importing it all the way, they had been importing it from China, but now they are focusing to get it in a cheaper rate from the country like Myanmar. So for that reason, Bangladesh is a very safe country to exploit that. If Bangladesh can do something in the Indian border, at the same time Bangladesh provides help to USA to do something in the Rakhine territory, which is close to Bangladesh, probably there will be a complex situation. So what Bangladesh, how best it can utilize this chance depends on the diplomacy, their skill, and at the same time Bangladesh is again in a very, in a rope of the circus, election is ahead. This government may not continue after February 2026. So again, if there is something cooked up in the border or in the Indian sector or in the Myanmar sector, there could be delay in the election on the plea of that particular emergency situation. So we are really in a very turning point, I should say. What is coming next, it is very difficult to predict from the military point of view.
Sir, I will come back to you. I just want to take a short question from our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho. If you see the problems and influence from the neighboring countries, such a big country like India, if you see the war ringing in the bell near the Myanmar border, if you see the huge influence and attraction of the United States of your neighboring country, do you think our military strategy should be more focused to protect the sovereignty and security and integrity of the country?
Thank you for your question. Of course, this week has been very informative in the building of how Bangladesh is going to fare for elections. I want to point out on the right side of the map, we have Myanmar that has ended its emergency status for the last 4 years, and the general who is of the junta forces, he is now preparing December of this year for nationwide elections. Of course, his opposition do call this a sham vote. But however, if you look at Bangladesh and how this recent spat between USA and India has taken place, even in Indian Parliament, Mr. Narendra Modi has been criticized very deeply. And not only so, it would be very opportunist for Bangladesh to understand its new ties with the US, given our proximity and our bordering with India on all of our sides. And not only so, if you look at the past 1 year, there has been instances of pushing in Muslim minorities from Assam, Meghalaya into Bangladesh, which of course does not go by the norms of the international rules of border immigration. And at this point, it would be very opportunistic for us to understand how we can contribute to our economy, how we can have a progressive society in the upcoming days. But it's very unfortunate to see that regardless of whoever it is, whoever goes to the throne, he usually forgets to do for the people. That's the system that Bangladesh has been going through for the last 5 decades. But I'm very promising, and I know that in the future days we will definitely keep up with the entire global order, and I would want to see a progressive Bangladesh in my generation as well.
What would be your advice to the people of Bangladesh, those who are making policies to face these upcoming challenges? What would be your advices to them?
It most definitely has to be people-centric. Any kind of policy that shall be gazetted into the rules should be definitely be supportive of people's mandate. We must understand people's suffering, not only in Dhaka city, but in the other cities, of coastline cities as well. Cities that are prone to earthquakes as well. We have Sylhet and Chittagong for that matter. We must understand that sometimes the natural location we are located in, it will definitely be a natural calamity more than a military incursion of Bangladesh, where we really don't have enough preparation with the current modern times. Any devastating scale of earthquake which various Western countries have predicted for our nation will definitely take a toll on our economy. So we must have proper preparedness, and any kind of rules that we set forth in the coming days should be people friendly as a top priority.
I appreciate your answer. Before asking one question related to our national interest, national sovereignty, security and a prosperous nation to Dr. Nasir, I'm not interested to finish the program today. What would be your advice to this interim government and its supporting organizations to make a measure for facing such situations we are expecting in upcoming days, as Bangladesh military has a reputation that Bangladesh military is one of the finest military in the world. That's why they are getting lot of requests from United Nations to serve other countries' peace. Why not inside Bangladesh?
Okay, there is a very interesting subject, not only for the military people, for the politicians also. Historically, whenever military has taken a side, history was diverted in one direction. Whenever military rejected, it diverted in another direction. You see the major events in Bangladesh, the changing. If I can remember in 1975 what happened, military, some of the military people, it made the changes. Again, President Zia, being a military man, he formed the power and he changed that there was a Bakshal. Bakshal means the one party system
Rule,
in the
yeah.
rule in the country, and he turned it as a military people. He turned the coin, and from the one party system, he multiple party system or the democratic system he has introduced, being a military man in uniform. Again, you see who has changed him, who has killed him. It's another military man. Okay, so who replaced him? Though for time being it was Satv, but ultimately it was President Ershad, who is a military man, and it is widely believed that he himself was involved with the killing of President Ershad and President Zia and the President and the General Manzoor as well. But ultimately he could pass 9 or 10 years time in the name of various issues and other things. Again, how the President Ershad was changed? It is General Nuruddin who said no to him. Enough is enough, I am no more with you. So he got changed. How this 111 has come? It is Moinuddin Fakhruddin. Who are they? Military people. Fakhruddin has come from the abroad, but it is the mainly the General Moinuddin and the General Masood. They have made the political change. Back in, if you recent days, if you say 2024, is the military said we are not going to shoot at the people. That one single statement from the military spokesperson
changed everything.
Changed the scenario. So historically, it is proven that whenever military says something in favor of somebody, the current goes in one direction. Whenever they say no, it goes in another direction. Having said so, as you said in your question, that what should be my advice to the interim government or the policy makers, my humble request to them is, please ensure such policies when you leave this power or leave this chair, that military never gets involved with politics. Military never gets involved with the decision which is supposed to be made by the government. Our intelligence organization should not have Ainaghar to keep the political people in custody. In each and every country of the world, there is a interrogation cell, there is a interrogation room. If you talk about the most modern countries, nobody can deny that they do not have any secret room where the prisoners or the suspected people are not being given third degree and for the information. It is, if somebody says no, it's a flat liar. It is there. But keeping your own people, innocent people, madrasa people, your imams in the custody of military intelligence unit, it is absurd. It should not happen.
Sir, fair enough. Very powerful words. After Dr. Nasir, I have nothing to say. I want to say goodbye. See you tomorrow.